Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Manzi, Technical Marketing Manager at Autodesk, and welcome to this brief course on mobility simulation, Know the Basics. Welcome to module number 4, multimodal simulation. So in this module for multimodal simulation, we're going to be building on what we've learned in the past two sessions with a multimodal network. So we will be creating a basic multimodal network. We're going to introduce new entities such as stands and also scheduled services for public transport. We're also going to look at reporting and how we can augment mobility simulation models using external content. So multimodal simulation is really just simulating how the real world works. So we are just simulating people going about their business, traveling on different modes of transport, um, and usually moving from one mode of transport to another as they progress through their journey. So it could be walking, cycling, traveling in cars, taxis, also public transport such as buses, trains, or on the metro, and usually a combination of some of those. So we have a video here, and we're going to talk about those points. Okay, so I thought we would look at a multimodal system now, where we are moving um, people around in cars and then changing to walking on foot and then being picked up maybe on a train and moved to another part of the city. So you may have seen this example earlier in the course where we have people arriving in cars, parking up and walking around, walking to the platform, and then being picked up by a scheduled train service. So I thought we would look at trying to reproduce um, something much similar to this, but on similar lines. So I thought we could have a stab at trying to recreate something like this. So much simpler than the fully built out example, but we have people arriving to a platform. They are then boarding the train. The train then takes them a distance and then unloads them at the next platform, and then those people travel on to their onward journey. So we can see how this is working, quite a long platform with many entrance points. The train then arrives, they get on the train, and then they arrive at the other end, and then they all get out and carry on. So this is what we're going to try and achieve. Okay, so we're in a brand new model, and the first thing we want to do is again, a bit of housekeeping with the layers. So we already have the walk center lines and connections and edges on from previously, and also the handles. But now that we're dealing with rail and lanes, we need to turn on a few extra things. So the first thing we need to put on is links. So we just need to apply that. And then we'll have to put on streams as well. and also lane midlines. Okay, so that's probably enough just to get started. So again, we're just going to pull it into a plan view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I want to make this a half decent size. So from here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to rail and say new rail cursor. Okay, so there's a little bit more information here than we've been used to when placing walkways. So we have a direction in, a direction out, the number of lanes, the lane width, and the speed. So we can just take the defaults for that and just hit OK and then escape. Okay, so what I want to do now is just move the view down to here, and just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm just going to spin this around just a tiny bit, just to give us something interesting to play with. And then we'll repeat the process. So down to rail, new rail cursor. And then we can zoom in on that. Okay, so there's some additional entities that we're now going to be aware of. So we have these blue lines, which are the links, and we have these, which are the nodes. And what we need to do is we need to combine these because we need to join these two separate rail entities together. So we just click that, select that with the middle button, select, repeat that. Okay, so this is the issue with the multiple clicking and things not working. There we go. Okay, so I've clicked on both of those, and then I can right click, go down to node, and then say combine. Okay, so that's done that. So this running off to the top is normal. It's going from the node at the end to this node now to the node at the bottom. Okay, but we still need now to connect these lanes. So if I click on the end there and click on the end there, right click, and then if we go down to lane, we can say new stream. Okay, so that's now connected those together. Press escape and then repeat for the other side. Right click, lane, new stream. Okay, so if it does this, okay, then that's wrong. So just Control Z and then right click again, lane, new stream. Okay, so that's all we need to do to connect those two segments of rail together. Now the next thing we need to do is to add the points at which the service is going to stop. Okay, so these are the platforms essentially. And we'll need 4 of those because we want it to start at the end and finish at the other end, but then we'll want the passengers to be picked up at some intermediate points. So if we just zoom in to the ends here somewhere, and if we just select that lane, right click, and then say new stand. Okay, so you can see it there, it's quite small. So what I would do at this stage, just to make your lives easier, is just to click on it and then go to adjust and make it bigger. So just make the size 40 or something like that and hit apply. And you can see it's now extended that down to the end. Okay, and then we'll move on to the next one. So for this one, I would suggest putting another stand around here, somewhere around there. So select it, right click, lane, new stand. And again, we can zoom in, right click and adjust. So I'll say the same again for the size, 40, but then we need to look at the number of doors. So this is the number of queuing points essentially on the platform itself. Okay, so the train may have 2, 3, 4, 5, as many as you want entry points, obviously relative to the type of train that you're modeling. For us right now, while we're looking at this as an example, it doesn't really matter. So we can say 10 doors, just so that we can see how it works, and we'll apply that, and you'll get this long 40-meter long platform, and the doors will be placed equally along its length. Now you can't see that at the moment, but in a moment when we add the walkways and connect into it, you'll see it. Okay, so let's go up to the top. So we're going to put another one around here. So we'll zoom in, select that, and then go down to lane and new stand. Select the stand, adjust, and do the same. So 40, doors 10, apply. And then the last one right at the end somewhere up here. Lane, new stand. I'll just change the size to 40. It's purely so that we can see it. Okay, so those are the stands in place. So now we need to look at actually creating the environment for this scheduled service, which is going to run along this rail. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to set up what they call a trail, which is basically the route. So what we need to do first is select this bottom lane, and then we will come up to network and trails, and we'll say new trail. It's going to be trail 1, and what this has done, it has automatically detected that this second section of rail is attached. Now this dialog box here is for situations where you would have multiple options in terms of whether you want to turn left, turn right, different ways of branching, and they are generally color coded in here, and then you can choose which one based on the color that's highlighted in the window. Now for us, we only have one option, which is straight on, so nothing's shown here. We just need to accept that and apply, and that's fine. So the next thing we need to do is to set up this scheduled service. So if we go up to network and hit services, this is the services dialog. So there's actually quite a lot going on in here. This one on the left, this area on the left-hand side actually has the services, and then these two areas here are the like the details of the services themselves. And then down here there is a button that allows us to specify the types of transport. So we're going to go there first. So I'll hit that, and then we can hit plus in the same way as we've done with a lot of these dialogues. Okay, so it comes through as a standard bus. It's a standard type of transport. We will rename it and we'll call it train. We can give it a color and some sort of green, and then we will choose a train as the solid shape. Now, if we look beyond that into apply that, if we look beyond that into these other areas, you can see that we can specify a lot with regard to the train itself. You know, the length, width, height, the mass, the capacity, of course, how many people can be standing, how many doors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this a little bit longer, say 15, and the number of doors. We said 10 on the platform, but I think we can probably just live with 4 at this point. There's some other information on here, including if you need to add additional carriages to the train itself, they can be specified in here, but we won't do that today. So we'll just hit apply. Not sure if I did that, just make sure. Okay, so that's specified the transport type, or certainly made it available within this service. And so what we can now do is hit plus to create the service itself. So it's asking us which trail do we want to take that from, because we may have multiple trails, multiple branches, different routes that we want to model. In our case, it's just one, so we called it trail 1. So we just hit OK, and then a name for the service. So it's defaulting to service 1. That's okay. We can use that. Okay, and then we have the stands on the service listed. And now we will specify how long it's going to take to get to each one of these each one of these stands, and how long we stay there. So we'll want them to stay at each one, and then the interval is set at 15 minutes, but for our purposes, I think 5 will be fine. Then if we hit plus, it says, okay, the departure time is 8 o'clock. Which vehicle type are we using? Which the train that we specified just a moment ago. And within the time window, we're going to generate 12 trips. So we can say okay. Okay, apply that. And then there's a minimum dwell. So how long are we going to stay on how long are we going to stay on there? Well, I think for us, so we're not waiting, we'll just put 5 minutes. That should be okay. And then we can say okay. So that's our scheduled service already set up. So now we need to combine what we've done here with the stuff that we learned earlier in the course about setting up people movement, so pedestrians, because we need pedestrians to get to these stands, these platforms, so that they can be picked up by the service. So let's go down to this platform here, this stand, and what we'll do is we'll just create a walkway. So right click, walkway, new walkway at cursor, standard width, that's fine. And then we'll select that, move that somewhere like that, and we can move this anywhere we want, and this end could go off to some other complex network, of course. But for us today, just learning this piece, it's fine as it is. And then what we need to do is we need to connect this stand, this platform, to this walkway. So we just select the walkway end and select the platform or the stand, and then we can just right click, go down to walkway and say new connection to stand. So we'll hit that, and there it is. You can see that it's connected it to the stand, but it's also created these additional streams that people are going to be walking down to these 10 doors that we specified on the stand itself. Okay, so all we need to do is now create an area to pick up the other end, so where the people are going to be coming from. So again, we just say new area cursor. It's highlighted this walkway, so we know that it's fully embedded, which we know is absolutely critical for making this work. Okay, so that's all we need to do to set up this end. So then we need to go to the other end, and we're going to repeat what we've just done. Okay, so walkway, new walkway cursor, bring that over to here, move that over a bit, zoom in, select the stand, select the end of the walkway, right click, walkway, new connection to stand. Okay, and that's done that. Incidentally, if we needed to move this now, we can do that. If we select the end, you'll notice that it rubber bands to the new position. Okay, and then we just need an area to pick that up. Again, it's highlighted the walkway, so we know they're connected. Okay, so that is, in fact, the network modeled. So it's not too difficult, but there are some definite points that which we need to understand about creating the two sections of rail, connecting the nodes, creating the new streams in each direction, because we would do this also on the other side, of course, and then adding the platforms or stands, as they're called in mobility simulation, then a trail, then the scheduled service, and then adding on the walkways to carry the people to and from. Okay, so what we can now do is we can now just create some demands in exactly the same way as we did in the pedestrian simulation. So we could go to the other parameters, the people, the terms, the demand divisions, and things like that, and set all that up. For this, we just want to see the people moving from one place to the other being picked up by the service. So I'm going to go straight to demands in this case. I'm just going to create a matrix. And the service itself is obviously running from this end. Okay, so there's no point in creating demands from the top to the bottom because it won't work. There'll be people coming out, but there'll be nothing for them to get onto. Okay, so it's going to run from the bottom to the top, so the arrows go in the right direction. So I'm just going to pick a random number here, 200, and click OK. So let's rotate this and create some views so that we can change views as we're seeing the simulation happening. So this can be the just click at this button here, and this can be the pickup point. Okay, if we swing it around to something like that, this can be an overview. Like so. And then if we zoom in a little bit. Should be able to get a nice view of that. So, and that can be the set down. Okay, so let's go to the overview to start with then. And then we'll go to the simulation, create a new simulation, make it current by clicking on the light bulb. And now we should be able to play that and see something happen. So you can see straight away, we've got our service running, stopping at various points. It's just caught a few people there. And then we can have a look at the pickup area. So you can see people arriving. And if I zoom in a little bit further, you'll be able to see they're going to each of these different streams being picked up. And then if we go to the set down, you'll see they're coming out. And they've been they're going into and being picked up through the 4 doors which we actually specified in the service. So even though we've got 10 doors specified here, there was only 4 specified in the in the transport itself. So we'll wait for the next one and see that happening. Okay, so you'll notice they'll come out of 4 doors when it arrives. There we go. Okay. So that is the very basics of how to create a multimodal simulation. Of course, we've only chosen something like a train, so we've just got people coming along, getting on the train and moving across. But beyond this, more advanced simulations, we can add cars, cycles, taxis, even buses, any number of different modes, and combine them all together in a very similar fashion. But at least now we understand how to create a basic multimodal simulation. Okay, so this is just a quick section on how to obtain results from the various simulations that you've been performing. So we can go up to the reporting menu, and it's quite a lot of different reports in here. But the first thing we need to do is to configure where the results are actually going to go. So if we just hit that, you can see by default it says save no results, and that's because most of the results that you'll see are dynamic and they're updating as the simulation is progressing. And if you want printed results, then you have to get to a point and then get it to save them. So for us, XLS files are good, I think. And then you'll see all this stuff becomes live, and you can configure this for whatever you feel you need. Okay, so I'll close that down, and these results are going to be saved in the resources folder underneath your model folder structure. Okay, so we can see mine here. So this is the model, and this is the results folder, currently blank. And if we now go to reporting and then maybe go to service level trips, this is the matrix for that. So you can see this is the summary. So we have all the um, criteria identified, and then the results will be here. So at the moment it's blank because nothing's happening. But if I set the simulation running, you'll see that it will gradually become populated with data. And as I say, it's all been dynamically updated as things are happening. So we'll just let that run for a second, and then we'll see what's been produced. Okay, so I'll just stop that, and then I'll just I'll hit save at the bottom here, and then if I go to my Windows Explorer, let's just close that down. You'll see I've now got this additional folder here for the name to the actual name of the simulation, and then the date and time. So if we just go in there, you'll see I've now got an XLS file, which I can just double click, and there is there's the results. You can see there, tabbed results, and we can get access to those, and now we can manipulate them if necessary. Okay, so it's pretty simple to be able to obtain different types of results. For instance, if we are interested in level of service, we can select some of these. If I just move down to that area here, if I select these two walkways, and in fact, why don't we select the walkways at this end as well? We can get a level of service for those 4 walkways. So if I go to reporting, level of service, move that over there. So you can see we have the 4 walkways, and as that runs, again, this is dynamically updated, and you're color coded on this side here, just as a quick visual check as the simulation is progressing. The actual service levels are configured in this tab. So we have a user-defined service level, but there are some other standards recognized in here as well. Okay. So many different types of reports. Just select the ones you want, run the simulation, and then save it away as an XLS file. Pretty simple. Okay, so for a lot of simulations, it might be nice to augment the model itself with some other components, such as buildings and such like, more than what we saw by just bringing in a flat image as a guide. It might be nice to have a number of buildings around, something like that, or at a smaller scale, smaller structures dotted around inside a building, maybe to add some sort of realism. With mobility simulation, there is only one method by which we can pull in external content, and that is through the 3ds format. So I'm going to quickly show you how you go about doing that. So I'm going to quickly switch to 3ds Max, and I have a model here which has been directly imported from Revit. So this is a Revit model which I pulled in to 3ds Max. you can see here it's got some terrain. It's quite a detailed model. It's got quite a lot of content in there. Okay, so we would need to export all of this to 3ds format, and then that's what we'll be able to import into mobility simulation. Obviously, we need to be aware of the limitations of that file format when we're exporting. Okay, so if we go back to mobility simulation, I'll show you how we import that. So first of all, we need to go to the display menu, hit content, and then we'll go, there's a number of different tabs here, one of which we used earlier in the course to import that image, but we're going to use structures this time, and then we're going to hit that there, and I'm going to pull this model in. So I've selected that model. We get this import 3D shapes dialog box. We can select some sort of category. We can put a prefix in if we want to, and then we'll need scale. So in this particular case, yeah, I think 0.1 is probably about right. And then we can add a rotation in any of the 3 axes. So we'll click OK, and depending on the size of the model, it may take a minute or two to pull it in. There'll be no progress bar or indication to let you know that anything's happening, but it is going on in the background, and at any moment now we should see something appear. Okay, so there we go. So it's pulled that in. As you can see, nothing in the model as yet. It's just added it to the file, to the network itself. So we'll just say apply and OK. So that's almost entirely the same as what we did when we brought in that flat drawing. And the process of inserting is the same as well. So if I just right click, display, and instead of choosing new image like we did before, I'm going to choose new structure at cursor. Okay, and then we get a similar box. If there was a list, we'd pick that. We'll click OK, and that's pulled in our model. There we go. So it's simple as that. And now we can start building a simulation over the top of that.